Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions Podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Mr. Lucas Caneda. Hello, Lucas. How are you?
Hello, Andrew. How are you? Thank you for having me at your show. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. I know you've been here, there, and everywhere, but we'll talk about that later. So, glad we can spend some time today on this show.
Likewise.
So where are you joining us from today then? Which exotic place are you in today?
I'm currently in Sarlat, a little town in the southwest of France. That's for people that know where it's placed. It's kind of between Bordeaux and Toulouse, to have a reference.
Okay. So I should say bonjour, Lucas. Comment ça va?
That's correct. Ça va très bien, toi.
Oh, that's it. That's all.
That's all you know. Okay, that's fine.
No. I'm going to say Monsieur Lafayette à la bibliothèque. I think that's the one.
That's good. That's a library. I mean, exactly. I'm not French either. I'm from Argentina, so I've learned French when I came here to France. My French is not perfect either, so don't worry.
Okay, Argentinian. Okay, that's good. So you kind of like dual multilingual now.
3, and I think that's more than enough. Actually, I don't have any more space in my brain to get a 4th. Not yet, at least.
Well, given you're from Argentina, I mean, it's nice to see that your backdrop is actually the colours. I mean, practically, that's actually that's nearly the same colours as the Argentinian football jersey, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, that's the blue down there.
Exactly, a bit of a nice blue.
Yep.
So nice to have you on the show. And I suppose one of the things that we do with the G&T sessions, we obviously bring, the idea is to bring amazing guests who've got some really interesting stories and really interesting, gifts and talents. And I know when we originally spoke about coming on the show, you've been through, you started at X and then you went to Y and then you'd actually doing X and Y, which I thought was really interesting kind of for the audience to listen to. So, I mean, if you could maybe explain a bit about what you're doing at the moment and what you're working on, because it is quite I would call a fusion. It's like making a really nice French, I don't know, what is it? French gâteau? No, French meal, yeah? By having a little different ingredients, yeah? So how do you describe that?
That's true, that's correct. I mean, I'm a professional rugby player. I was not when I was young, because back in Argentina, there's no professional teams. And back in the day, I knew that was my dream. So I knew I had to fly over to a different country to fulfill my dream, right? So I had that objective in my mind and kept working to get there. Eventually, I had my opportunity 6 years ago, and that's the reason I came to France. However, during my youth and today, I've always been intrigued by business, investments. So I've always been an entrepreneur myself. And that's always been a part of me too. So that jingling with one and the other, it's an important thing for me, and something that can really last in the long run. Mm-hmm. So when I came to France, the first season, my objective was to just focus on rugby for at least 1 year, right? So that happened. I had a terrific year. It was wonderful. But after that, there was something that was missing. So I always wanted a bit more. So I tried to decide what else I was going to do. And I studied a career. So I did a management career online while I was still playing professionally. And eventually I finished that career, and I asked myself the same question: what is it I'm going to do right now apart from rugby, to keep going, right? And that's how I looked for an opportunity of playing rugby professionally, because I do. That's my passion, right? I do want to keep doing that, and then insert myself a bit more into business. And that's how I came to UNIQORN Incubator, a startup accelerator incubator. And I'm one of the directors, and I'm working here helping startups develop, improve, accelerate themselves, and go to the right path for their objectives. I think that's a bit of a good summary.
Portrait, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So it's a quick question. I mean, I don't know the answer to this actually, but maybe you can help me on that. Is rugby more popular than football in Argentina, or is it the other way around?
Actually, if you ask the question about popularity, it's football. But there is a different atmosphere between rugby and football. Since rugby in Argentina, it's amateur and there's no professional teams. You actually pay to play.
You pay to play. Wow.
Yeah, you pay
That's
like
what I call dedication.
Yeah, you pay a fee to your club to be approved to be every month to keep the club running. You need to pay for your meals. You need to pay for your straps. You need to. That's how it is back home. And on the other side, football is there's so many professional teams. There's money in between, so the atmosphere is a lot more competitive. In fact, I played for 1 year at a football club back home. And I remember the first day I went into the changing rooms. I was a little kid. I was 10, 11 years old. And as soon as I went into the changing room, people started staring at me like, who's this guy, right? Nobody said a word to me until one of the guys stood up, came straight to me, looked me in the eyes and said, what position do you play? It's like, oh, I play 7, 9, I like to score. Watch out, because our 9 is that guy. And he pointed to one of his mates. Like, dude, we're 11 years old. We're here to play, to have some fun, right? But no, in his head, he was already trying to become professional at 10 years old.
Very competitive. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I am a competitor myself and I love it. But at that age, having that objective so soon and just worrying about money when there's a lot of other things that are way more important when you're that young, like having good friends, having good values, it just didn't fly with me. So at the end of that year, I just quit it and went back to rugby. And I
suppose what you're saying is it's very commercial. That's what you're saying. It's a lot more commercial it's professional. It's a professional and amateur, isn't it, in the football side with, obviously the infamous Messi and Maradona and very similar.
Yeah, and sadly, some people send their kids to play football because they think that can be
the next Messi.
And they can just financially save their lives thanks to that. And whenever you put that pressure on a 10-year-old kid, you get those results. And instead of making friends, you're making enemies because you see everyone as a competition instead of playing together, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. Some of the teams that I remember is like Boca Juniors and River Plate. I think those are the two teams that I know.
Well, River Plate is my team and was the team I was playing for.
Oh, was it? Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So what you're saying is that you got to the point where you had to leave Argentina to go professional for your rugby career.
Yes.
And then why France? Why France in particular? Was there a family connection there, or what was the magnet that pulled you to France?
No, actually, it was a French club that was looking for a player in my position. They got my CV, they got my videos, they liked me, and they made an offer, and that's what brought me to France.
So you basically got scouted. You got found out. You got they found you they put their rugby radar on. Found Lucas.
Yeah,
okay.
Bring him in. And it was quite fast because it was middle of the season. So they needed me to come quick, and they called me one morning. It was like 7 a.m. in the morning. I remember I was sleeping yet because at that time, I was studying at night and working at night. And they called me like at 7 a.m. We might have an offer for you. Okay, let's talk about it. Then send me something. We kind of agreed. They say, okay, we'll let you know when you can come. Okay. 1 week after that, they call me one day at 10 a.m. I will never forget that. And they say, hey, your plane is tonight. I was like, what? What do you mean tonight?
Tonight?
Yeah. So,
wow.
Okay. Made my bag, say goodbye to my friends and just went to the airport.
Wow.
Yeah. So pretty quick.
Straight from the limo, straight onto the rugby field.
Well, not a limo, but kind of, yeah. No, it's just, I mean, the good thing is that I knew that was what I wanted. So that made things easier, because if not, there's lots of questions that you're going to ask yourself, because it's not easy to move to a whole different country, new language that I knew nothing about, being far away of your friends, of your family, of your girlfriend. So it was, in that sense, pretty tough, but since that was what I always dreamt of,
how old were you then? Were you in your teens then, or were you a bit older?
25.
Right. Okay.
Around 25. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And then, so I suppose you got kind of scouted, and then, so what position do you play in your professional career? Is it you don't look big enough to be a prop?
No, I'm not. Luckily, I'm a wing.
Okay,
one of the quick guys.
Oh, so you're a bit like you've got wings on your boots, so you can like fly down the line.
Yeah, that's the idea. Run quick.
It's like whoosh. It's like the what's that? The Flash. It's like the Marvel comic, the Flash. Whoosh.
I wish. I wish it was that quick.
Well, that might be the next call. Yeah, Marvel will be ringing you up. The DC universe. We need Flash 2.0. Get Lucas in.
Of course, I would do it if you want to.
Never say never. Never say never. Well, you got a movie star look, you see. So you've got you're halfway there.
We're ready to go. Would you be the director of the film, Andrew?
I keep telling him. I keep having to change my mobile number because Hollywood is trying to track me down all the time.
Trying to trap you every single time.
Yeah, I mean, James Corden's got that show over there, but I'm actually hadn't called it yet. But never say never. Maybe when you get over there, you can call me. You can say I need Andrew. I need Andrew to come and interview me. In Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the only guy
together or nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. The deal's off. So you said that. So you obviously went to France and then you started your professional career. And you did that for a year, and then you had this kind of bug about getting getting into business stuff and doing some business stuff. And then you mentioned that you mentioned a few things. You mentioned things called Calendar X. You mentioned UNIQORN Incubator. Mm-hmm. What are those projects then? How would you describe that? What is that? Is that how it links? Is that like a bridge into the stuff you're doing now on the business side? Is it kind of like linked as well?
Yes. So I'm one of the directors of UNIQORN. So we incubate, accelerate startups. We come from the digital marketing space, so that's one of our key points in here. So we work with startups and different companies a little bit the American way. So we consider a startup something that has a proof of concept, that has a couple of clients, and that was able to convince at least a family member to invest in that startup.
Okay, so like friends and family round. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we just don't really like that. I have a brilliant idea in my head. Let's do this, and that. Okay, first proof that you can do it.
Yeah, some level of traction.
Something.
Proof. Yeah.
Yeah, because if not, the risks are already very high whenever you are talking about a startup. And if you don't have any of that, it's very hard. It's just not on our business model. I do know lots of others do it, and I'm perfectly fine with that. It's just not what we do. So, yeah. And then we also work, for instance, with public companies. We run campaigns, specific campaigns of investors' relationships, SEO, ASO, article syndication for them, especially in the US, Canada, and in the UK. Our founder has been, he lived in the US for 25 years. So many of his contacts come from that side. He's been working with them for a long period of time.
So you're literally creating, I don't know what would you call it actually. The Silicon Valley in obviously the US. There's obviously Silicon Beach in Israel. Yeah. The Silicon Roundabout in London. What would you call it in France, South France? What do you call it?
Not yet.
I know what it is. Silicon Promenade That's what you should call it.
Silicon wine, maybe, or cheese.
Silicon Vineyard. Yeah, you can get
that's a good one. We're not very far from the vineyards anyway, so.
Okay. You're enticing me even more, you see. I'll be getting on the next flight. You'll be saying, come over today.
Well, I'm inviting you, so be my guest.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't always get an invite from my guests, but I think might take this football knowledge from actually. So anyway,
it'll be a pressure.
So yeah. So you said about the you call it UNIQORN Incubator. So I think you mentioned before when we had a chat, you said that you're actually starting to build some kind of, well, you could call, it's a big word, but infrastructure. You're building like a facility down in the location you are. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Because we've got more than 60 people working with us today. And so we've moved into a new office month and a half ago. And we built in, that's what I was talking to you about. We built in 4 podcast rooms in here because we are big fans of this, I would say, marketing tool. Because the statistics, show that it's literally like speaking in front of people. Especially with today's situation, it made things easier and a lot more effective.
Yeah.
So we've been in the CEO, the founder, and myself. We've been on lots of shows lately, and we keep doing it and we keep promoting it because we just love it. And so the new facility, a lot of people coming in. We've got at least 8 startups being incubated, accelerated here. So with us, and at least 5 or 6 at a distance, because some of the people are not ready to come yet. So we do work
back to the office,
remotely also, which is perfectly fine. And we have some startups that we funded ourselves, like Challenger X that you mentioned. That's one of the latest, and very thrilled about what's happening with it. So it's a sports tech company that's allowing amateur and semi-professional teams to grow and to look exactly the same like a professional team. Because one of the biggest differences that you encounter whenever you go to, for instance, a website or a social media from an amateur club, you can see the difference right away. And in our opinion, there is no need for that to happen. You can, in terms of branding, you can be exactly the same as any other club, any other brand.
Right.
And that can help you, and that's what we do, monetize your community, engage your community, build that community up, and make people not just think about it as a club, but as a brand, and connect themselves with that brand. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, because sports teams are kind of, I don't know if it's the same from your background. You mentioned, River Plate. When you grow up, I don't know if it was your father, but my father would say, I supported this team, so you should support this team. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if that's the same in Argentina. It was definitely the same in the UK.
I think it's everywhere, of course.
So you mandatory have to go and watch the same football team, or if he's into rugby or whatever, and then you build that lifetime loyalty, because then your sons or your daughters, then you take them through that kind of cycle as well. You're probably too young to have. Maybe you've got some secret children somewhere. Maybe you're not telling me about that. Tell me later.
Got one daughter.
Oh, you have? Okay, there you go.
Small, 11 months.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're training young. So what you're saying is you're helping kind of the amateur clubs then to basically have a kind of more professional shop window and a way of managing their fan base. Is that kind of building that lifetime loyalty and that kind of interaction and engagement? Yeah,
that's the first step. That's how we actually, because we believe in creating a proof of concept, having a couple of clients, as we discussed before. We've done this already. We took over the local rugby club here in Sala. And we just changed the whole image. We created a brand And this is our proof of concept that this can be done.
It's like your showcase kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how people are already contacting us and coming to us. How can we be a part of this? Because we've did it. For instance, in terms of social media, we had 1,500 followers 10 months ago, and today we are over 150K.
Wow.
So that's some of the things that we can put into motion pretty easily. So
that fan base then is that not just geographically local to the club? It's actually global now. Is that
and that was our objective. I mean, we want to create a global club, a worldwide club, a worldwide brand, because it's way more than just a club. Yeah, and that was our objective, and that's what we do, that we intend. Because if you see Sarlat, there's only 10,000 people living here. You'll never get those amounts in that case. So the idea is to have fans all over the world. And in fact, one of the researches that we've seen, I think it was 2 years ago in the US, was how many people know the rules of rugby. It's not a very popular sport there. So they came back to us and said, no, I'm so sorry, but only 12% of the people know rugby. And that for us was a very huge opportunity, because we will focus on the 88% that's missing. So we actually signed TV, broadcast, and OTTs contracts with stations all over the world to bring the content that we produce to their people, to their community. One of them is, for instance, Viva TV, a mobile app that has at least 6 million people, 6 million downloads.
You kind of basically building a distribution network for the brand as part of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Because that's what our sponsors and our partners are looking for. Because whenever you contact someone, you want to work with someone, what they're looking for is those eyeballs. That what are you going to give me? What are you providing to this relationship? And that's how we're basing it. Because if you see our stadium and you say just physical presence, it's limited. You can't get over a certain amount. There's not enough people. There's not enough space. Especially with COVID, everything's a lot more complicated. So we also created our own TV channel, which is salarugby.tv, where we, for instance, have our live games. And we had our first friendly game last Saturday, and we had 80,000 people watching the game.
Wow. Amazing.
That's something we can, and, we control everything that happens. We measure everything that happens on those channels. We could just tell our guys, hey, this is what happened. This amount of people were watching. Your ad was here.
Yeah, okay.
X amount of people clicked.
So in the marketing investment, the placements, the ad placements, stuff like that, you can then start to get some payback on that. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Fantastic. And one of the things I think you mentioned before, which was really interesting, was about how you've actually made it a really modern model as well, with the kind of the use of tokenization. I mean, is that something you could just briefly explain a bit about as well?
Sure. We consider it to be the cherry on the top, because we see Challenger X being an exponential curve, where you start really at the beginning with, I would say, basic stuff, creating that brand awareness, that image, and then slowly start to scale into TV contracts, social media, sponsorship, monetization. One of the things that comes at the end is tokenization. We are in a position today to mint a token, a social token, for any club that we think it's time appropriate. I would say in 30 minutes you could have that token minted.
Wow.
So, and the beauty about it is that you can basically do whatever you want with it. And it just helps to build that community and to make people real fans. Because we come back to the football example. I'm a River Plate fan, Imagine if I could have a couple tokens, a couple river tokens, and with those, maybe I could buy a jersey. Oh, that would be amazing. But imagine if I spend a little bit more, I could buy a signed jersey. And that's something that's exclusively done for token holders. Or if we go to the rugby example, a lot of people would love to make a kickoff of their favorite club.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you hold X amount of tokens, you participate in a shuffle to win the opportunity to make the kickoff of a certain game. Or you just meet your favorite player.
Yeah.
And you can do...
Or you get the match ball, or you do some kind of penalty kick, or all these kind of things.
Exactly.
There's different types of... Yeah. You can get really creative, can't you? Yeah.
Exactly. And that's something that, thanks to blockchain and the social tokenization that we are providing, you can actually do. And, the club can benefit from that because tokens are related to Ethereum. So you can always do that exchange. So at the end of the day, it's money, right?
So have you built that? So you said it's on Ethereum, so it's obviously one of the the programmable blockchains, yeah, or programmable chains. So have you got a tech team that's actually built that capability within your operation? So
yeah, we've got our CTO that handles most of that side, and we also have a good partner on the token side.
Right.
So they work together to get that done.
Cool.
In fact, we already have our Solid tokens. We just haven't distributed them yet. We have not. It's not commercial, but they'll come pretty soon.
Because I was going to ask you, because obviously you mentioned some physical things there, and obviously there's been a big, I don't know if how people are up to date with this thing. I'm constantly trying to keep up to date myself. Is this kind of NFT, non-fungible tokens, NFTs. So I know that one of the guests I'm trying to get on the show in a while he's a really interesting entrepreneur, and he's created a platform. He's recently worked with a very famous boxer that begins with T and ends in F. So you can probably guess who that is. And he may be boxing very shortly. And he did the tokenization for some of his digital assets. So is that what you see as well, an opportunity to go from physical to digital as well?
Yeah, we will always keep both sides of the coin because some people like the physical part and some others like more the digital. It's something on our pipeline we've already discussed, and it's coming. So NFTs certainly is huge market to explore and to benefit and to leverage.
Yeah, because I was looking. I don't know if you've heard about this, but I was looking at it the other day. This thing called OpenC. Have you seen that? OpenC.io.
Not really.
You look at
check it out.
OpenSCA.io, and it's like a whole asset library where you can basically buy. You can use Ether to buy this digital art, by these digital artists. It's absolutely amazing. Some of the stuff is absolutely staggeringly amazing. And there's obviously different bid prices because obviously certain ones are getting more favorite and more currency on them. And as you know, with the stuff that happened with Beeple Crap, with the $60 million thing from the guy that bought it in Singapore. Yeah. So which we sorry,
it can go crazy right away for sure.
Well, I mentioned this on previous episodes, but one of my really good contacts and friends and previous guest on the show was a guy called Joe Toscano. He came on the show a couple of years ago. He was actually in Brazil. He's American, but he was in Brazil. He used to work for Google, and he wrote the book called Automating Humanity. And he sent me a copy of the book after it had been released. It was released just after we did the episode 2 years ago, and it's a brilliant book. And he talks about some of the stuff that thing about using people's data, personal data, and that kind of stuff, and some of the implications for the future of and the social network. The film The Social Network that came out last year. he's actually in that film. So he's one of the guys that created that film. He in the book, and you've got to get it. It's called Automating Humanity. There's some amazing art pictures in there, and I realized when this $60 million Beeple crap, transaction went through. I looked him up. I said, "Oh my God, it's the same guy. Same guy." So Joe knows him, and he actually did all the art in the book. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Amazing.
So it's like woohoo. So
of course,
yeah, OpenC.io. I'd have a look at that. It's worth having a look at it. So,
of course.
Obviously when we're obviously together in France, doing digital painting with our Adobe laptop. So that's really. So it sounds really interesting. So, see what you're saying. You're doing some stuff on the. So it's got a couple of things. I suppose you're working on your own startup with Challenger X, which is this kind of thing which you can scale up to the world. But then you also got your incubator, which is like an accelerator. So on your accelerator side, are you trying to basically build, I don't know, the French version of, or the French headquartered version of, YCombinator or Techstars? Is that your kind of vision with that, or?
We don't like to compare ourselves to others, to be honest. We are
love it.
It's just who we are, right? We like to be UNIQORN, and that's who we are, and we do things our way.
Good answer. Good answer. I like that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, we have different models, and I do believe, and we firmly believe that each client is different, for instance, and everyone deserves a personalized and customized plan, offer, or whatever. So that's how we work. And in fact, we are very picky with the people that we work with, especially at the incubator.
So you have like a cohort. Do you have like people that come through, and you then run it like a certain number of months or weeks, kind of sprints kind of thing with them? Is that how you do it? Or?
Yeah, usually we try to take a longer approach. So 6 months would be the best.
Right.
Sometimes we go as low as 3. It's just a lot harder. If you're trying to be incubated, it's just that doesn't happen from one day to another. It's like becoming rich. You don't become rich when you go to sleep. It takes time.
Right.
So yeah, it's better to work a longer period of time. But then if we speak about like specific campaigns that we do for our clients, especially with some clients, lots of public companies in the US or Canada, that they are just looking for a press release. Okay, we can do that too. And we do it constantly, but it's not just, this is just a next level, right? So we work together a lot more. And usually there are companies a bit smaller that need a lot more guidance, and need a lot more help. And one of the things that we always say is that we are not going to be doing the work for them. That's out of the question. So you need to prove yourself that you're willing to do what it takes. We're just here to help you out and accelerate the process, be more efficient. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're not willing to do what it takes, nobody's going to do it for you, right?
It's that classic phrase, do the work. Yeah.
But I mean, it's true. Sad, but true.
Yeah. No, so I mean, just a quick question about so in the terms of, obviously tech is quite a big sector. So do you do specific sub-segments of tech? Is it like, reg tech or fintech or retail tech, or, do you do certain types of thing, or is it more kind of horizontal?
No, it's more broad. When it comes to incubation processes, acceleration processes, if it's tech, we can do, we know. If it's not tech and doesn't involve tech, we're simply not interested.
Okay.
But that's it.
It's good to be on the G&T Sessions podcast, isn't it? Growth and tech. There you go.
Yeah, true.
We're gifted and talented people.
That's why we're here, right?
But boom. So just changing the subject a little bit. So I mean, one of the things that I noticed, so I know a few rugby players, and obviously I know a few sportsmen. I actually ran kind of nearly a double marathon in March for motor neuron disease for charity. I did the David Goggins challenge, the 4x4x48, which was quite entertaining.
No way.
I did it, yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy. Well
yeah,
done.
It's more of an endurance thing, but I'm not as crazy as he is because I can't run 205 miles without a break yet.
Wow.
I'm working on it.
You're working on it?
Oh. Yeah, working on it. Well, you see, when I come down to see you in South Francisco, you're going to put me through some training, aren't you? You're going to put me through some grueling training.
Yeah, well, I'll grab a bike, I think. I'm certainly not in a position to ride that much.
You can't cheat with a bike. Anyway. No, but I was going to say, what I noticed with sports people, obviously, it's been Olympics recently, and obviously Paralympics are on now, is the discipline, yeah? The discipline that you apply. And also, Simon Shaw, when I met him, who was the ex-rugby player, England rugby player, we played in that famous side that won the World Cup many years ago. He used to say that he used to plan in 15-minute slots. He'd plan his whole day in 15-minute slots.
Wow.
So what was has that been something that obviously you've been brought up in that kind of with that kind of background? Has that helped you? Would you say? Is that a correct assumption around discipline and really mindset and body and all that kind of stuff? Has that helped you in your business career? You think? For sure.
That's one of the things I do love about doing sports and business at the same time, because I think there's lots of values that you can bring from sports and apply to business that work wonders. One of them is discipline, for sure. I always say that rugby, because I play rugby, but I believe it can be taken to any sport. 80% of what happens is in your head.
Right.
Of course, you need to be fit, you need to be trained, you need to be ready, but it's all about the mentality.
For you, it needs to be in your legs, because if you're on the wing, you need to run like hell. Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually, if you are there, it's because you know how to do it. But sometimes you see people that when they get the ball, they don't accelerate, or they're not running enough, and that's certainly because something in their head is not there, right?
Yeah.
If you're missing that fire inside and that willing to do what it takes, I think that mentality and that discipline, it's a crucial part, and it can all be taken down to business eventually. When you talk about discipline, for instance, I think that, for instance, nutrition, rest, recovery, it's probably even more important than training today. And that requires lots of discipline. Who wouldn't like to grab a couple beers with some friends, eat whatever you want before a game or whatever? There's plenty of examples. That if you want to perform, you need to restrain yourself from doing it.
What I noticed when I did my challenge in March, and I'm going to do some more challenges in the next 12 months, 15 months as well, is that when if you are in training and then you have a beer, you really notice how it drugs you. I don't say drugs you, but how it affects you, and actually how your nutrition affects you.
Oh, for sure.
So I was, one of my friends was an ultramarathon runner, and he was training me before I did this challenge. He was telling me what to eat and stuff like that, and there's all these kind of bizarre stuff I was eating to try and fuel me during the actual weekend that I did the challenge. And you're just learning about that kind of stuff, and it's fascinating. You can see a net. You can really feel the impact of it. And I think you don't get, unless you've been in sports, you don't really get exposed to that until you actually you know it probably very well, but the average person doesn't know that until they research it or get experienced in it.
That's correct. Yeah. When you speak about the beer getting you dragged, I stopped drinking since 2014.
Right.
For sports. Actually, I had a very serious injury in 2014, a knee injury. I broke 2 ligaments.
Wow.
And I had an objective in my head that was pretty tough. So I knew that I wanted to play the first game of the season. That after discussing with my coaches, we had 3 friendly games before that game. And I discussed with him and asked him, hey, by that time I was one of the best players of the team. It was like in Argentina, there was not so much competition. So I played every single game.
Right.
For like 6 years in a row. It was the best scorer for the club for 6 years in a row. There's not much to ask about. But I told him, hey, how many friendly games do you need me to play for me to start the first game? And he looked at me and he said, I need you to play all 3. I was like, no way. I mean, you give me a break. It just broke my knee. I can play 1. I would say, no, if you don't play all 3, I won't put you. I was like, come on. So I started counting, and it happened to, so I got surgery, and the first friendly game was 5 months and 1 week after the surgery. So I went to my physician, my doctor, and said, hey, I got 5 months to get ready. And they were so, on average, this takes
5 months or 5 weeks?
5 months and 1 week.
Okay, right, okay.
But they say on average, I mean, this takes between 6 and 8 months. I've never seen anyone do it in less than 6. I was like, okay, we need to.
Lucas, you're bionic. I think you've got some metal in you. You're like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, I mean, it's not that. It's just, I mean, I think it's the mentality and just knowing what you want and do whatever it takes. And I asked myself, what am I willing to do to get there? And I was like, everything. So let's try and do as much as we can. Right. One of the things that I did was stop drinking at all. I don't even take 1 beer ever. And so for like 5 months, I did, of course, a lot of other things. So I don't really know what that made that happen. But for 5 months, I was just focused on getting ready. And the beauty about it is that 5 months and 1 week after I was playing the first friendly game. And it was just amazing. I mean, I played 10 minutes. The coach didn't say how long. So 10 minutes was more than enough for me. But that was it. Pitch. Yeah. But I was on the pitch. And next game I played 50 and the other game I played the whole game. So it worked.
Do you think that's like that mind, that phrase mind over matter? That thing where you get the mindset and you just become obsessed about,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I've been part of a group recently with a really amazing guy you've probably heard of, Tim Grover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Tim Grover was the trainer for Michael Jordan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's written a couple of amazing books, Relentless and Winning. If you've not read them, I recommend you read them. They're very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds...
And he is one hell of a guy. Oh, my God. I've been on some sessions with him and some other people. My God. Does he not pull any punches? He's the trainer, yeah? And
but he knows how to motivate, how to push you to the limit. And that's what it takes. Because that's my coach at that time. He's a friend of mine.
Right.
And I appreciate what he did.
He said he's still a friend of yours.
Yeah, he is still a friend of mine. And if I think it through, I'm 100% sure that he would have put me on the first game, even if I played only 1. Or maybe even if I didn't play any of them.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm pretty sure that would have happened.
He was pushing you, basically. He was pushing you. Yeah.
He was pushing me hard. He knew that if he pushed me hard enough, I would make it. And that was just, for me, it was one of the things that I needed. And he knew that he could push me enough, because you can't push everyone. You need to know. And that's that sixth sense that some coaches and some people do. And that's something you can take to business too. You need to be very, very efficient when it comes to pushing people, to helping people, and that to get that motivation happen. That's what. And again,
like perception, we come back to be perceptive. Yeah.
So and that's why I stopped drinking. And I remember when I got married a couple of years after that, during my marriage, I had a couple of drinks. And I remember the first little beer like this, I was already dizzy. I was like, whoa, it has been a long time. So, but that's it.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, I was going to talk to you about, what I call peaks and valleys, and I think what you've already done is there, where you used to explain one of your valleys, I suppose. Where you had an adversity, and how you navigated that. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, true, completely true, and I think that it's how do you set an objective to get out of that place and to be at least at the same stage, if not a bit better, in a certain period of time. And it comes back to that mentality, to that, I like to call it that winning mentality. Some people say that I'm a bit crazy because just hate losing. But I really hate it. I need to win at whatever I do. And that just gives me that certain edge of, I do get really mad when I lose. I don't even like to speak to my family if I lose a game. But I think that pushes me to the next level. That helps me overcome those situations, but by doing certain things that allow you to progress and to just...
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting with the Tim Grove stuff. I don't, if you've ever read that, but I'd recommend you read it. He talks a lot about, dealing with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul. And, it's like, it's really interesting about the mindset. Even when they win something, they basically, there's like the journey to that win.
Yep.
And then there's like a 10-second celebration. And then they're basically saying, right, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
It was like, it's just like, and he breaks it down. He kind of explains, what they're going through, because he's with them all the way. And you just, it's really insightful, because he's shoulder to shoulder with these, like yourself, a high performing individual, high performing athlete. It's fascinating.
I love the story about Johnny Wilkinson. You probably heard of that. After the World Cup that they won, that basically he won, of course, the whole team, but he had an amazing World Cup.
That famous drop goal. Yeah.
Yeah, but after the game, he was kicking again because he had missed a couple of kicks. Instead of celebrating, he was just...
I went back out in the training camp and started kicking again. Yeah,
started kicking again because he had missed a couple of kicks. Dude, you've just been World Cup champion. But that's what took him, and probably I'm certain that that's the mentality that made him who he is.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So I mean, no, thanks for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. It's appreciated. It's inside the mind of a professional athlete. There you go. Example of discipline and planning. I mean, I was going to do my usual. I mean, you've probably heard the Jocko Willink kind of quote. I presume you've heard that.
Which one?
Discipline equals freedom.
That's true.
And anyway, gotta love Jocko. So in terms of some of the things that you're working on in the future, so it sounds like you've got a real, you've got a rich kind of tapestry of what you're working on down in the lovely part of south of France. It's you said where did you say it's near to? It's near to
Bordeaux and Toulouse.
So again, sorry?
Bordeaux and Toulouse.
Bordeaux and Toulouse. Okay.
Yeah, kind of in the middle.
Okay. No time to lose. Yeah.
Of course.
So in terms of the kind of the future, I mean, it sounds like you're kind of heavily into tech now. I mean, but you're not really a technologist, are you? So I suppose you're. How does that figure? Or have you kind of learnt a bit about that? You wouldn't consider yourself a geek, or you consider yourself a bit of a geek now?
No, not really. I mean, it's not always. You don't always need to be doing everything. You need to have the right people doing the right stuff. That's one of the things that we always tell to the companies that we work with. It's not how am I going to do this, but it's who. So who is going to solve this problem? And that's one of the main reasons why we get hired.
You've been reading Dan Sullivan book then?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why we get hired, because they know that they can count on us for certain things that we can really help them with.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not doing everything, even though I'm wearing many hats, but we've got our CTO whenever it comes to the technical side. he's who we rely on, his team. There's no need to be. We don't. All of us need.
You don't need to everybody know everybody else's job. It's a bit like that specialization thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And so in terms of, the plans you've got for the future for it's UNIQORN, isn't it? Is it UNIQORN? Yeah, you spell it UNIQORN. There's a Q in it. So is that right?
It's with a Q. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is that
Quorn's like a kind of a healthy vegetarian kind of meal. What is it? Meat supplement. That's what you could call it.
That's true.
Meat replacement.
But the actual reason of the name, it's quite funny because our founder, the founder of UNIQORN, he's called Dom Einhorn. Einhorn means unicorn in German.
Oh, does it? Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
So and the name's just amazing for any startup, right? Who doesn't want to be the next unicorn?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think the UK and Europe are starting to catch up with US and China, but I think US and China are still dominating in the unicorn states and unicorn league table.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got this facility you've got down in the south of France, and then what's in the plans for the next few years? Are you going to basically expand, globally? Are the startups you're working with down there, are they mainly national French companies, or are they international as well that kind of come to work with you in France, or how does that work?
Actually, we don't have any French clients. We don't. How to say this politely correct, but we don't really. We spend too much time trying to convince French guys to work with you when you can close 3 or 4 deals with Anglo-Saxons pretty quick.
Okay.
So, they take slow decisions, let's say. Let's call it like that. And it takes lots of time.
I know that President Macron was obviously with the London and Paris discussion, they were trying to foster more kind of entice tech companies to establish themselves in France. Are you seeing that trend as well over there, or is that still a way to go?
Kind of. There's lots of advantages, and that's one of the reasons why we are settled in France. Is because there's R&D help.
It's like government funding and support.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. You can get different things that we leverage. But again, they say they are doing, for instance, what they call, I can't remember the name, but it's like a visa for foreigners.
Okay.
For investors, French tech.
To attract talent into France, basically.
Yeah. Basically, if you have a startup and you want to hire talent from abroad, you can easily give them a visa to them and their family. And it's called the French tech. We are a part of it. But that's on paper, but when it comes to the actual challenge of doing it, it's not as easy as it looks like. We have at least 3 people that we that have that visa. It was really a pain in the ass to do it. It's not that easy as they say.
Right.
They have that will to make it happen, but it's not really that effective yet.
Mm. I know there's one of my other guests actually can come on. She's based in Toulouse. Actually, she's involved in space tech, kind of space, and obviously Airbus is based there as well, isn't it? So I don't know if are you seeing those type of startups around that area as well? Is that kind of
in Toulouse? Yeah, Toulouse is the space capital in France.
Right. Yeah. Been there many times. It's really cool when you fly from the UK to there, and you come down to the runway. Then you realise, wow, Airbus has got their own runway because they obviously do all the assembly. I think do a bit of the assembly there as well. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this is the commercial. This is where EasyJet lands. This is where all the other Airbus stuff lands.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah. So in terms of I suppose lessons and secrets and sharing back, giving back. Obviously, you're only slightly younger than me, maybe, wink, wink.
A little bit,
and
not too much.
But what would you summarize? And if you're talking to some of the people that are listening to this podcast, people that are, founders, people that are, starting on their journey, what are the things that you would, like to share with them that would be something they should think about or research about or like try and experience as they go through their journeys? And anything you'd like to share on today's episode?
Yeah, I think it would be basically, let's call it a summary of what we've talked about. But first thing is to do what your passions tell you to do. So I'm passionate about rugby, I'm passionate about business, and that's what I'm doing. And that makes things a lot easier because I know so many people
combining them together and you kind of building it into your day and your week and your month and your life.
Yes. But when you're passionate about something, you just do it with a lot more happiness and with a lot more effort. And that makes things, the result is always better. And you don't mind investing time into it because you love it.
Yeah.
Then I would say that mentality, that winning mentality that we've spoke about, for me, it's crucial to success. And success for me, it's a word that adapts to each of us. I mean, it's what you want as success. What are your objectives? So you could be successful however you want, but get that winning mentality to get you there. And one of the things I would tell entrepreneurs, startups, companies is there's always a risk. So don't think this comes easily, especially in the startup world. The risk is very big. Just assume that risk and just decrease it as much as you can, the best way you can. But be certain that there's lots of work and effort to be done to get it done, to make it happen. But yeah, that would be it.
Fantastic. And I mean, I suppose that, the concept of thanks for sharing those kind of insights about things that people should think about. I mean, I suppose one of my final questions is about what are you most grateful for?
Everything. Honestly, I mean, everything that happened, everything that I did made me who I am today.
Right.
And I'm grateful for that. But if I had to identify one thing that's very, very important for me is that I am chasing my dreams. And I've been doing that forever. And I keep doing it. And I have that inside flame that keeps me going.
Right.
Because I'm doing what I like to do. And that's very important. And I'm very happy because I know that most of the people never get there. So I'm grateful for that.
You got your spark and you keep it alive. Keep it burning bright.
You need to keep it going, right? Because whenever you let that spark lay off, it's not the greatest moment.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic. I mean, I think it's just to let you know, I'm actually planning to potentially go down to South America next year.
Really? Where to?
With one of my very good friends who I've known for 20 years by next year, who's actually Argentinian. He's from Buenos Aires.
Really?
Called Alejandro Cananero, and he's been one of my previous guests on this podcast. He works for Google now, and
amazing.
He's a crazy guy, but I love him to bits. He dives. He goes diving with sharks, where he puts the blood in the water and then dives in with no cage. He's a crazy guy. He's run triathlons and stuff like that. He's hilarious. Yeah, he's very, very good fun. So yeah, we're planning to do like a bit of a little tour potentially next year. So it'll be our 20th anniversary. So it'll be the.
Let me know if I can help you guys with anything. Let me know. It'll be
Well, we've already got a potential Mexican interested as well. So it could be like I'll be the only gringo I think on the tour, but
that's good.
We'll see what I'll keep you posted on that. But
for sure.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, for being on the episode. It's been a fantastic conversation, and really, really appreciate you sharing your journey and your story. And I really wish you all the best with what you're doing. It's really interesting to talk to you with your kind of the fusion of this this sports background and And also, you extend this stuff in sports, but you're also helping businesses as well, and also running your business as well. It's a really rich tapestry of what you're doing. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Andrew. I had a great time at your show, and I hope people enjoyed it too. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And I suppose the final question is, if people want to get hold of you, what is there some websites, or what's the best way of finding out more about what you do if they're interested in getting in contact with you? I mean, obviously, I'll put some social media stuff on when I post the episode. But if there's particular websites that you think people should check out and to know more about, anything you can share now?
Probably the best way would be through LinkedIn, through my personal LinkedIn. That's usually the best way.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll publish that. We'll publish that when we publish the episode. And obviously, we've now got a date, you see, for you to put me through a grueling rugby training in the south of France, and hopefully when it's not raining. So we'll have to sort out when we're going to get together down in that lovely little village that you live in.
Oh, we can do some cheese and wine after that too.
Well, we're not allowed to drink alcohol. You have to be non-alcoholic wine.
No, I can take some water. I don't mind.
Oh, okay. I'll have to drink your portion of wine then, or maybe I can go teetotal for that day. So it's kind of like, because it's like a little village, isn't it? It's a really pretty village where you're based, isn't it?
Amazing. It's actually a medieval town. We're very, very small, but it's actually the 7th most visited town in France.
Wow.
Got at least 2 million tourists a year.
Wow. I remember, Carcassonne. Remember Carcassonne?
Yeah, I've been there. And
is that far away? Because there's got a really nice castle there, I think. Right?
It's around, I would say, 4 hours.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Just, that shows how good my geography is, isn't it?
It's never easy.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. That was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Session Podcast with Mr. Lucas Caneda. And have a lovely day. Thank you very much, Lucas.
Thank you.
Take care. See you soon.